Hello and welcome to The Perspective. Today we take a closer look at the state of the nation, from insecurity and the debate over state police to the Orire abduction rescue, the Senate's concerns over Governor Seyi Makinde's UN probe call, and the wider issues shaping governance in Nigeria. We will also examine the state of Nigerian politics, the ruling party, opposition fragmentation, the wave of defections, internal democracy in political parties, the fight against corruption, among other topical issues. Joining us is Otunba Segun Sowunmi, political communicator and the convener of The Alternative, to share his perspective on these pressing national issues. Welcome to the show.
Deji, it's nice to be here. Let me start by saying that this is very, very impressive.
Thank you.
I like the ambience, I like the layout. I feel like I'm in Al Jazeera.
Thank you very much.
Now let's go.
State police. The calls are loud. It seems closer ever than it was some years ago. But some still have fears and concerns about what framework the state police is supposed to operate under.
Democracy is,
what are your views on
democracy is noisy because everybody must bring their view to the table, no matter how outlandish and even sometimes how ridiculous. But one thing is certain: governance is a little bit more subtle, a little bit more deliberate, and must be a little bit more focused. And in all of these things that concerns governance, the question to be asked is, are we going to run a country where the security concerns have reached crescendo and will be afraid of adjusting our security infrastructure to ensure that we can give more capacity to subnationals to at least secure their place? Most times when people talk about policing, they remember only arms. They don't understand, or they choose to not understand, that the complexity of a police infrastructure includes security, includes investigation, includes intelligence gathering, includes evidence picking, includes even taking cases to court. And that if you got it, you will understand that giving them that capacity will allow them to at least have quality recruits that are also emotionally invested in the environment, to such a point where if he has to do one more brief or he has to go out one more time, he's going out because he's preserving and sustaining his own. And every federation you've seen in the world, from the Americans to the British to all over, they run multimodal policing infrastructure, and they didn't do that because they are foolish. They did that because ultimately you need to police ungoverned spaces, and you can't do that. We've tried it for so many years with this single policing infrastructure from Abuja. It has worked up to an extent because we still have a country, but now it's stretched beyond this limitation. If we can give them money at the state, if we can give them money at the local government, we might as well just give them the instrument by which to police their area.
Otunba, I remember clearly that when we had the Amotekun being launched, there were those who framed it as a precursor to state police. I wonder what your perspective is on the success or not of that outfit.
One of the major things, one of the things that
all of that.
One of the things that have bedeviled them is that you have not called it the name it needs to be called. Police. When the word police, when you hear it, it already connotes a certain level of authority. Yes, the Nigerian police system has also been, affected by the generality of what's happening in our culture, corruption, nepotism, and what have you. But hey, we have now a great opportunity, at least if we finally sign it, where the states, and if you like, in collaboration, the zones or regions, can then decide that they're going to approach policing from a different mindset, better quality recruitment, better quality training, better quality remuneration, better quality framework, better quality of security integration into what policing will be, and certainly better quality of arms. The whole idea
underneath quality is funding. That's one of the major criticisms.
If we can fund roads that will need to drive on, we should be able to fund what will keep us alive. If we can fund agriculture, if we can fund education, all of these things we fund, they come second to funding security. because it is only a secured environment that can even plan in a sustainable manner. You cannot look at any policy from the point of view of today and the operators of today. You have to look at a policy from the point of view of the long term.
Right.
Will society remain at this Obesian level of brutish, life short and uninteresting, or where we have converted condolences into an everyday thing, or where today we are gloomy because somebody has been killed or kidnapped, tomorrow we are happy because it's been negotiated, ransomed or paid or integrated. You can't. A system problem requires a system solution. And one of the system solutions for now, in my opinion, is policing. Those who argue against it are afraid of the governors and what.
And I'm going to ask you pointedly, do you have faith in the current political class that are in power
the beautiful thing
not abuse
the
it?
beautiful thing about democracy, especially the type of democracy we run, is that how long does even a president stay in office? Max 8 years.
Right.
At the beginning of the Buhari presidency in 2015, not a few of the players that are alive today were so scared, wondering what it would mean in practical terms. Some of them being afraid of what his sojourn was in the former times when he did it in the year 1995, and thinking that 30 years later they're going to be hauled into prison or even killed and all that. But he's come and gone. He's even dead now. And some of them have found out that nothing of such happened.
But in those 8 years, enough damage can be done to last as long.
The point I'm making is that if a governor really decides to be a rogue killing people, the infrastructure that is available, both written and unwritten, secure, legal and illegal, still exists for him to be able to do some of these things. Almost all people in the country understands that, aside the fact that the governors are controlling money, they're also controlling the infrastructure of states. And you have a lot of non-state actors anyway within the system of our country, all of them parading arms, light arms, small arms, some of them even using semi-automatic.
Right.
If the insurgents can acquire arms, what makes you think that a rogue governor cannot acquire signals? So I think that I do not believe that there's any person in Nigeria who is so irresponsible as to not understand that there will be something called the morning after. No one can prevent me from pulling out the gun on national television and shooting you.
Right.
What prevents me from doing that is the consequence. All we need to do is become more intentional about consequence. The more we apply consequence, even to the ones that are stealing our money, the more we apply consequence to abuse of office, the more everybody gets the memo.
I mean, Otunba, in light of what we see currently in Nigeria, you speak of the ideal. But again, let's talk about potential friction between maybe the federal police and the state police. Recently, Governor Seyi Makinde made a call for a UN probe, and that did seem or appear to be like there's some friction between him and the center, as it were, and of course the Senate rejected that. What do you make of that?
I think that the thing is that I have also said that I'm amazed that the Nigerian nation has allowed itself, especially the citizens, to be made excessively too sinister and unbelieving on anything that is being implemented. Why do you think that it even makes sense for a subnational authority who has control and who has some responsibility over a certain demographic called the state within the federating concept of the Federal Republic of Nigeria? Why do you even think that Seyi Makinde should not know that that is the most irresponsible statement to make, especially on that day? Essentially what Seyi Makinde, if he is to be believed, is saying is that, disregard the sovereignty of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, set up an unknown and not so clear protocol that does not even exist in the United Nations framework to step into the Nigerian nation and start coming to do auditing for us after we had really become successful in quashing and ending something. It must be an exaggerated elevation of who he thinks he is within the Nigerian.
Doesn't that speak to distrust?
Well, the thing is that I think that what is trust really? The more I try to make you trust me, the more you may choose not to trust me. Trust is a freely given asset which you must give me, and then I must live up to it or betray.
Right.
If I want to earn your trust,
right,
if I'm not very careful, the more I try to earn it, the more you become skeptical. And that governors like Seyi needn't be unduly afraid of their shadow. The powers vested in the Federal Republic of Nigeria, the president, he could have given him a state of emergency for carelessness. He could have said, oh, you had a drone machine or a surveillance helicopter sitting in the park for so long and you didn't do anything about it. He could have said, oh, you had this kind of problem and I had to hear it in the news. He could have said, there are many, you see, the powers available to a president is much. And I find it extremely offensive that people are treating this president in the manner that they dare not treat the previous president like Buhari, or even dare attempt to treat Olusegun Obasanjo. And therefore, I think that sometimes, we have seen that the democracy is maturing, and that even the federal government itself in Nigeria is getting less combative, and they are not using the powers vested in the office excessively. And that politics being what it is, we needn't go back to the playbook of the past era. This was the same shade that was shouting wet here a couple of days ago. So I think that we need to have a way where the national security infrastructure can call some of these people and read them the riot that, listen, this is your second flag. We won't tolerate comments that are divisive, incisive, and capable of imploding the country. You cannot talk like that. It's not at every point in time when you have an issue that you are looking for some of the most outlandish comments to make that can either make the whole country feel bad, all in a bid to say you're trying to either act brave, which you are not anyway. Because the bravery of a leader is supposed to be seen in action.
Well, let's move slightly from insecurity. Let's talk about the effects that we've seen with waves of defections and factionalizations of party. Yeah. And they say for every effect, there is a cause. Perhaps I should just ask you, what do you think is responsible for this unprecedented wave of defections and factionalization of pretty much almost every party, especially in the opposition?
You know, I thank you very much. I wrote a piece yesterday where I was discussing the excessive and narrow interpretation of the law that says do not interfere in party affairs.
Right.
And I held the very strong and very well considered view that whatever the law has created, which a political party is a creation of the law, can no longer say the law cannot look into dispute. The courts will not come into your party to bring the cases, but when the cases come before the courts in good conscience must have to adjudicate. For when there is an injury, there must be a remedy. And therefore, to say that there is a jurisprudential end that says, oh, if it's a party matter, no court can talk into it, that would be totally bunkum. No court should say that, and any court who says that would then be asked, where do you want the aggrieved to go to, especially when parties are creations of the law. So first things first, it means that the parties must do well within themselves to ensure that they don't leave themselves open to that kind of problem. Now, if the parties are not having the problem, to the extent that we're seeing that almost all the parties in Nigeria, opposition parties especially, are grumbling. Do you know the funny thing? Do you know how indisciplined that even looks on the side of opposition? There are lots of people in the ruling party who are also grumbling, but they are disciplined enough to know that throwing the baby and the bathwater is in nobody's interest. For instance, to make the point clear, they've just run through their primaries, and a great number of them who would have hoped to have been ticket holder, some of their reps, some of their senators, even some of their governors, have found themselves unable to get the ticket. Have you seen them in that camp run up and down looking for 10, 12, 13, 14 court cases? That's number one. Number two, each of those parties, and I can run through them for you, there is not a single one of them that is not suffering from what you can call a self-inflicted injury. A scenario where you knew this was the problem,
right,
and you just wanted to bully your way, scream your way, embarrass the system your way, put the judiciary and prevent them from adjudicating on the fact before them. And then when you get judgment that favors you, you say the judiciary is very good. And if in their wise counsel they give you a judgment that does not favor you, you start sending small children to run up and down social media and be screaming, forgetting that a destruction of the judiciary technically destroys the country. So that's on them. Then I looked at it, I said, okay, what can we even do going forward to prevent this sorry state? Remember, I have a platform which I created called the Alternative Movement. It's actually for us to be thinking, okay, we're here, what can we do? How can we make it better? And you know where I went straight to put the finger?
Where?
It's something called election and party monitoring arm of INEC. INEC has an arm, a department there called EPM. It's called Election and Party Monitoring. I thought about it so well. I said, no, this is where we need to strengthen.
Right.
Because if we are strengthening the election and party monitoring arm of INEC, we will not be waiting until the last day or before they go to court. That organization now needs, that arm needs to be strengthened to ensure that they're looking into those parties and ensuring that before they get
There's
to
some form of internal democracy.
exactly, just to even tell them that this is the rule, this can't be done, this can't be done, this can't be done, so before they get there. Because hey, democracy is actually a work in progress.
I'm sure you've heard the famous narrative from the opposition pointing fingers at the ruling party, saying, well, the man there heading the ruling party,
That was the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu.
Yes, he is very skilled in the dark arts of politics, some say, and they say they have reason to believe that he's holding...
You know, it's a popular excuse.
You think there's no...
Just hold on a sec.
Substance.
Just hold on a sec. It's a popular excuse. But you know, the thing about any space that everybody can freely get to is that you can't blame anybody for coming in early if you choose to come in late. And to make the point clear, the question you will ask is, I hate it when people say, oh, because now they're saying, oh, he's defending him. I'm not defending him, I'm talking about the process. In 2003, almost all the AD governors lost their seats except him.
Right.
And in that 2003, his own brother, Olusegun Obasanjo, was president. And those were the early days of our democracy. Right. Do you know how tempting it would have been for him to just go join his brother,
right,
so that they will now be hunky-dory? But he understood that there's a duty that a leader must provide to ensure that democracy survive and they rebuild. And he did not build in a hurry. It took them painstaking effort, fighting one after the other, doing whatever they could, until he got his brother, of blessed memory, may so rest in peace, who was just 1 year ago dead, Muhammadu Buhari. Do you know what it takes, or what it would have taken Muhammadu Buhari to be contesting and failing, and yet trying to keep alive his base until they were smart enough to come together in a coalition. And recall also that when they were creating that coalition, the first attempt did not even work. That was the attempt that ended in 2011. Right. It was as a result of the errors of the first attempt that they were able to be a little bit more careful with themselves in the second attempt. And by that second attempt too, can I shock you, they still, but Ashad Bola Ahmed Tinubu, now president, didn't get anything there. They did that coalition. He might have imagined a Muslim ticket. It was frustrated. He couldn't be vice president. He couldn't be nothing. He couldn't be minister. He couldn't be nothing. Why wasn't he just carrying a chisel and an hammer and just destroying the party? Do you know what it takes to wait? Sometimes the thing you people call expertise in Bola Ahmed Tinubu is actually his ability to see the bigger picture. But with your friends, they wanted to create a coalition under normal.
They are more your friends.
They are my friends too, but you know, just let me put it out, okay, with my friends, they wanted to create a coalition. They did not learn from their rivals because they were too busy thinking themselves superior. They created a coalition in a country where people were saying power should go to the south, and they still insisted that it's the big man of the north, Atiku Abubakar, that will be driving the coalition. How were you expecting people like Peter and Co to stay in that coalition? And the resultant effect is, one, he's been the one that is coming forward. A lot of younger northern people who could have said, oh, I want to be president, and just because of the smoothness and the savvy nature of their age, their agility, maybe a lot of other people that say, okay, let's give him a try. They're not able to do that. And then look at Peter. Look at Peter. Peter is the one that, you know, I've said a lot, and people may have deemed it or termed it criticism. I'm not really criticizing Peter. I'm just trying to show Peter what will be and what could be. You can't get 6 million votes in 2023 and be running around with the people that did not allow you to even be the candidate in PDP. Ab initio. Imagine if, instead of this joke that has now become late, if he had just quickly, after 2023, made up his mind that, okay, I want to go one more time, and accept the need to redesign the play, which would then include finding his platform on time, which would include being clear about his platform, which would include marketing the platform for everybody, including people like you and I and a lot of other people who just want the 1992 set to be gone and who want the 1960 set to go and sit down somewhere. Do you know the amount of energy that will be driving him? But what has he done? He spent a lot of his time just saying the kinds of things that would just be making everybody in the country feel depressed. Because you can't want to lead a nation if all you're bringing to the table is everything is bad. And when they ask you how are you going to do it, you just suddenly start running up and down Malaysia, Indonesia and all that. And you're not even speaking hope, faith and strategy. And before you knew it, you were sitting in a meeting with the likes of them, Atiku, what's his guy's name, Rotimi Amici and Co. And you were truly, sincerely...
Was that coalition doomed to fail from the...
Because they really didn't understand how to build a coalition in the first instance. Every person was building it around himself. You can't build a coalition that way. When I showed
what candidate, just a moment, what candidate did you think they should have rallied around?
You know, I think that they were supposed to have learnt from the APC, who, never mind the fact that almost everybody in the southern area who were politicians had been thrown into jail or done something terrible to by Buhari, they were smart enough to know that he's the one that has the numbers. And on the basis of that, they built their coalition around him. And the person that was supposed to bring maybe whatever he was saying, they say he can bring to the table, which is Bola Ahmed Tinubu, they brought him onto the table. They were smart enough to go and even split the PDP that had no business splitting. The Bukola Saraki and Co to join them as new PDP, including this article. And at the end of the day, Bola Tinubu didn't really get the vice presidency, which would have been maybe what he would have wanted. Long and short, why didn't he start going like a bull in a china shop to break it all down? He just endured. And he ensured that their party won. And if you recall, I think you might recall that at some point in time, even his wife, Aisha Buhari, Her Excellency, she was even saying that we have abandoned Bola Tinubu. So to let you know that sometimes if you are building to last, you have to also be able to endure. But if you insist that it's always your way or the highway, people are growing up every day. Why should somebody that has been part of this country, who understands that Buhari has done 8 years as president to balance the country around the pendulum, why should they be happy with the fact that you are not letting somebody else go? And if I may ask, if there be anybody or any zone in the south that is due to be supported, I have a popular action I always say to people. I always say, Nigerians, the Indigbos, they are not going to disappear for you people. So at some point in time, you're going to have to make up your mind how exactly are they going to also feel a sense of inclusion. Right. And that since nobody can do it by themselves, it will be clever for us now to start thinking about this seriously, because we're going to run out of excuse. Peter is carrying a very heavy load all by himself, but hey, a significant part of the problem is down to him and how he plays. And listen, an Igbo agitation cannot be reduced to an obedient irritation.
Right. So you say President Tinubu's ability to bide his time and wait patiently and be long-suffering is pretty much what is missing in the opposition. Everyone is saying...
Not just that. Between 1999 to date, he was just a governor. Some of the guys were vice president, and they even had Adamawa governorship under there, so they could have managed. Question number one, where are they? Where's their media house? You can point to his own. At least you know TVC. Where theirs? Where are their newspapers? You can point to Daily Trust. Where the paper he has? The Nation. Where are theirs? You can point to his radio. Where's theirs? You can point to even some of his, henchmen. Even the ones that are even angry with him and quarreling with him today, you can point to the fact that somehow they've all been given some opportunity of experience. Where are theirs? The point I'm making, and I don't want to shade anybody before the audience misunderstand. The point I'm making is that you have to plan for a nation like Nigeria in such a manner that you understand that it has to be a long-term play. And in planning a long-term play, the infrastructure you need to build to help you make it easy to be able to maybe be lucky when luck finally comes, you must build it. Right. But those who sit down lazily and assume that entitlement is the only pathway for them to get into power, they joke too much.
Right.
They joke too much.
So you wrote a piece where you declared your disapproval of what you called President Tinubu's lopsided.
That was at the beginning of his administration. I did. See that? Thank you for bringing this up, because
has your opinion changed?
No, hold on. Thank you for bringing this up, because sometimes when I look at our brothers from the Southeast, I think that they so believe that nobody is on their side, even those who are truly on their side. I wrote that piece when the first list of ministers came up, and I realized that they got only 5. I'm not Igbo. So how can you do this? You can't run this country this way. You have to balance it. And what I then saw was that You know, a great effort was made. They got Dave Umai, who is obviously the one that has most of the spending budget of the country by road infrastructure, and it has impacted roads in their area significantly. I've seen that they've gotten foreign affairs now, very smooth, doing so much. So what I'm making is that some of us are so pan-Nigeria that we just want the Nigeria that works for all Nigeria. And I have said, and I repeat again, Indigbos are not going to disappear for you people, for us all in this Nigeria. So at some point in time, we're going to have that conversation.
I mean,
Peter made it difficult.
In the interest of fairness and equity.
No, Peter made it. No, see, power must be negotiated. Power must always be negotiated. Anyone who is going to negotiate power within the blocks must understand that you can't have a rapid mob that's just going and fighting everybody. We know the names of leaders in the Southeast, like what's his name now, Obi Ovonicha and all of those people. How many times do you even see us come out or even have the guts to be calling them and be shaming them and be disrespecting? We don't do that. So when they come and start disrespecting our own leaders, today will be Okukpe, tomorrow is Walisho in Canada, you will in an incremental manner upset people. And when you lose the people that were even maybe borderline on the fence trying to support you, everybody's going to fall back to their default mode. And you did that even for the Northerners when you were not with them. And then when you got into the coalition, you started supporting them. And then when you left the coalition, you started disrespecting them. It therefore follows that the person who should have put that nonsense to check was Peter, and he didn't do that. And now he's going to have to taste the pudding, because I think that most of the southern part of Nigeria has kind of like made up their mind that the conversation on the table for 2027 is very straightforward. This country will be run on a pendulum or nothing. If it comes to the south, it swings 8 years. If it goes to the north, it swings 8 years. And if the north insists that they do not understand the principle of the pendulum, they will learn it when we get past 2027, because some other people in the country will say, okay, we don't understand the principle of the pendulum. And let anybody not appropriate unnecessary capacity to itself. The era where you bring young children who are not verified and other things about is gone. And the global politics of the world is not going to allow you to come and start doing that roughneck crisis and destabilization. We're already having an Islamic sort of issue on our hand. So if you have that kind of situation on your hand, you better be smart and let us preserve the country, because a pendulum is all can work. I mean, how many kids do you have? Probably you don't have any. By the time you get married, you're probably thinking 1 or 2. Do you know what your cousins and your friends from the north are thinking? It's probably looking at about 4 wives. Each of those wives having 6 children. It's coming up with 24 children. How are you going to compete? The only way we can normalize it is run the pendulum. If it goes north, you guys give us candidate. Please bring us the best. We'll pick one. If it comes south, we'll give you a candidate and pick hands.
Is the opposition doomed to fail as it is now? We often say a day is even very long.
No, I think that
see any right?
No, I think that idealism with being what it is. Right. The practical reality on the table is that I think that we'll have to wait to see if they get out of court. We'll have to wait and see who are the final candidates, and then we'll have to look at where the mapping of the country is based on past attitude, voting patterns, and what have you. And we can really predict that it's going to be a tough fight. If the president will be, I believe he won't be joking to think that the election is in the bag. No election is in the bag until you count. And you can't harvest top echelon governors and such people in your camp, and on the basis of only those heavily overfed, overpampered ones will be the basis by which you're going to say you have won an election. How? What happens if the mass of the people say we've had enough? So everything we say today will still be valid even if he loses, because ultimately the question will be asked: how do you want to balance a country of multiple tribes, multiple ethnicity, multiple religion, and multiple languages? You have to figure out a way to balance it. And we can balance it, for now, in my opinion, by running the pendulum. If Umaru Musa or Blessed Mori did not die, nothing would have prevented him from completing his term. You know why I know that? Because Muhammadu Buhari was ill for the first 2-3 years of his administration, and nothing prevented him from doing a second term. So we kind of like, in our subconscious, we have accepted the principle of the pendulum. There's nobody in the southern hemisphere who is deluding himself that after 2031, it's his turn again. Even if you said it was your turn, nobody's going to listen to you in the south, more than likely. Except if it becomes so clear that our northern colleagues have refused to accept that we can run the pendulum, and they better pray that they are not going to be the one that will be shortchanged for it, because anybody can win an election without anybody.
What's the Otunba Segun Sowunmi school of politics? I say this against the backdrop, quite simplistic, but now you're here. You can answer. Some of your critics say you seem to be here and there. They're not quite familiar with.
Let me tell you what they call. They are lying.
So what's your school?
I will explain to you what they call here and there. Go and ask them where were between 1998 when the parties were started till date. Go and check all their leaders. How many times have they jumped ship? I've never done that. Do you know what it takes not to do that? That's stability. What my school of politics has always been: realistic pragmatism. What did I say? Realistic pragmatism. What can work? And at this particular time, I have come to the settled idea, very settled idea, that what can get us out of the woods is building consensus around development. If we want to develop our country fast, let us find a way to move away from all this, good, and start looking for consensus. Because in building consensus around development, whoever is in charge of the country will need to consult more. Whoever is in charge of the country will need to take on better ideas. But people must be persuadable. You can't run a nation like ours on an idea that the world is making progress and your only reason for not wanting progress is because you are in one party. What's that supposed to mean? Is that your father's? Is that even your name? Even your name was given to you. Therefore, political parties, whatever they may be, are vehicles. And if you look at what's going on now, look at how destabilized they are.
A little bit.
But
in talking about just the names, what's the ideology that underpins these parties? What was the allure that the PDP had for you?
Thank you very much. What's your name now?
It's Deji. Have you lost?
Deji,
has PDP lost that allure at the moment?
Man. Listen, it has not. In 1998-99, when we all came back in, I saw what I sort of like predicted what the progressive school of thought will do at that time. The Bola Tinubus, the Oshobas and Co, the Baba. I knew that they are going to, having been significantly scarred by the June 12 struggle, they're going to feel that their idea of progressivism is the Yoruba nation. And being the son of a, I haven't gone to the military school, never known anything like tribalism. I felt that the best thing was that let us be with a political party that is pan-Nigeria. So for you to have security, safety and all that, you need to have development a little bit, at least inspire development all around you. And in doing that, PDP was the only pan-Nigerian party at that time, because AD was going to follow the route they followed, NNPP was going to follow the route they followed. And I saw the errors of the PDP from the get-go. I was clear that this party is over-pampered. Obasanjo has taken over being leader of the party, and therefore instead of them to go and pull their weight at the grassroots, they're looking for one leader that will help them. That was when I started hearing this like federal might and all that. And I was saying, how long can this go? I started screaming on them since 2011. Yeah. I started screaming, this thing needs to be changed. We need to reform. This can't hold us. Anyway, they didn't listen. They're always thinking that, it's for the next day. He's talking ideas. Then we lost in 2015. When we lost in 2015, I realized, hallelujah, hunky dory. There's another pan-Nigerian party. Because whatever you say, you couldn't call the APC a tribal party anymore. It already had, inroads, structures, all that. So you now have two balanced parties. Guess what again? I ensured that I stayed in 2015 just for us to keep pushing our own party, let everybody not run away from the place. Then we got to 2019. I worked very hard. I was spokesperson of the campaign, spoke to life and all that. 2023, I still tried. You know what makes 2027 difficult? What made 2027 difficult is that the PDP did not know that its attitude and house style has come to hurt it. Now, so he's like there backing the president. Thankfully, I was a little bit late on it. But what I was looking for was, okay, look, let's start building consensus. What are we even trying to do with this country? We can't continue like this now. This one is not good. So I started saying, okay, is he restructuring? He's giving me state police. You know how happy I am with him? He has reformed your tax laws. Do you know how long those tax laws have been in the book? Since the days of the Europeans, where even if you ride a bicycle, you have to pay taxes. If you fry a crab, all those people you see on the road carrying sticks, that law actually compels them. In fact, there was a time where you are even compelled to pay your taxes because you are just a human being. And that is in the books. Do you know how long that has been there? Someone comes and then he cleans it up, removes the taxes for the poor. I said, okay, this guy seems to be doing something. Then, of course, he's opening up incidental roads. You tell me they are spending money. Yeah, of course they're going to spend money. You can't tell me you have Sokoto Badagry Road and you see what will happen. You have Kosa. So I took and he's my brother anyway.
Is the APC the new pan-Nigerian party that draws your attention now?
I think it is the consensus around development. And for more than 2 years, I kept trying to listen to the ones that were saying they want to be president to hear something. I will hear them say, he's a crazy man, is this no solution. The next one will say, simplistically, yeah, they have arrested, they have killed somebody in what they call in Boynwing. You have to do something. What? Another will come and say, the president is doing this, is that. I say, okay, yeah, I get that, but okay, how do we solve that? These are system issues. So I think that for me, I want him to retire that generation. Let him just go. The 1992 said, or the Abiola that yeah, we know we have paid that price. Let them carry their baggages and go. And allow fresh air to breathe on younger people, sharper northerners. Then there's no disadvantage of education in the north anymore. If I had my way, do you know what I'll do? I'll tell Lamido Sanusi, Lamido, Mr. Man, just dump this Jababariga of Emir and dump it on them and come and run president. That's the kind of person that I am. I just want us to have somebody that we know that will say, okay, the North is going to take power in 2020. Let's say 2031. 2027 has to happen, but let's say 2031. Okay, who is the guy that he understands the urgency of the now? If we have a population that will become 200 and maybe 500 million or 400 million in the next 25 years, where will they sleep? Where will they get water?
Otunba.
How will they get roads? These are the kinds of things that is making me tolerate some of the things that this present administration is doing. There are a lot of things that one can be angry with them on. But you know what? When people get into an election year where they see no good, hear no good, and yet offer no credible, better ideas, you're better off saying, no. We can't allow a joker come and take power because of populist mob ideas when we know from the get-go that he will not be able to do the work.
You have your own political ambitions yourself.
Oh, my political ambition has become...
What party is likely going to be...
Well, you see, because I am inspired by some of these leaders I criticize them, but I'm inspired by them. I thought, okay, this coalition, why don't I even go to the base? Let me just go to the state and local governments whether we can even build a coalition. So I started putting a lot of energy into that. I'd expected my party, the PDP, to understand that you can't be talking equity in the national and be talking nonsense in my state. You can't keep insisting that my senatorial district will never be given ticket. That's unacceptable. And when I say, okay, I live my own personal political life on an axiom. You know what an axiom is?
What is that?
If you want to serve people, you don't have to serve them by force.
Right.
But if you truly want to serve them, serving the people is a very, very demanding job. What's the point in trying to serve them by force? You can offer your ideas, you can offer yourself, you can be here, and you can wait to see whether they have reached that level of maturity. But if they've not reached that level of maturity, you still keep doing what you're doing, still keep trying to scheme and plan and pray and wait and hope that somewhere in the future, great men and great people like us can now begin to take the reins of the ladder. And I might have wanted to be governor. How do you know whether what God has planned me for is not a future president? So I'll keep being pan-Nigeria, I'll keep running around. I'll work hard, very hard about it. So
on that note, thank you, Otunba Segun Sowunmi, for your time.
I hope I've answered you well, honestly and truthfully.
Absolutely.
So it's nice being here, thanks.
So well, that's the perspective for this week. Join us again next week for a fresh edition of the program. Bye for now.